Hi, everyone. Matt Clark here, research analyst for Money and Markets with your weekly marijuana market update. Today, I'm going to talk about the cannabis value stocks and see if there actually are any. But first, I want to make sure you check out moneyandmarkets.com. We're posting content daily that provides safe, sound, smart, simple, and adaptable, profitable investment information for your portfolio. Adam, Charles, me, our entire team, we work diligently, very hard each and every day to provide you with content that helps you grow your portfolio in any market condition. You can also check out my Stock Power Daily. I give you one highly rated power stock according to our Stock Power Rating system, Monday through Friday to consider for your portfolio. So you don't want to miss that. And you can catch all that at moneyandmarkets.com. Now, let's get on with today's update. Thomas emailed me at feedback@moneyandmarkets.com and said, I know part of your Cannabis Power Rating system focuses on value, but there aren't many cannabis stocks that you can consider value right now. Can you tell me if there actually are any? Thomas. Well, thank you for your email, Thomas, and for using your email today. My team's going to reach out and we're going to hook you up with some very cool Money and Markets gear. So be on the lookout for that. But let's start by looking at the Money and Markets Cannabis Index. Now, we'll zoom in. We'll start out with a wider view. And then we'll kind of zoom in a little bit. Over the last 12 months, cannabis stocks have faltered, and the index is down a little more than 28%. We saw a spike in cannabis stocks in January of 2022 after increased chatter over potential cannabis legalization on the federal level. That, coupled with the potential of the Safe Banking Act passing, which that act would give cannabis companies access to traditional banking services that they don't have access to now. However, that talk has all subsided as inflation and recession fears have kind of taken hold and investors have started to push the market down. Cannabis stocks fell more than where they are today, about 40%, after that run-up of cannabis stocks in August. Now, let's zoom into August and we can see something a little bit different. We see a nice little run-up in the middle of the month of about 6.5% before the broader market sell-off pushed cannabis stocks lower towards the end of the month. But overall, for the month of August, the cannabis index was only down about 2%. It's actually one of the best months of performance this year. Now, the downturn in the middle of the month was more likely due to investor sentiment in the broader market rather than specifically on cannabis, because cannabis really doesn't have its own kind of market making type ability. So it kind of follows the rest of the market. And it trades very heavily on headlines, and it's been relatively quiet of late, outside of a few states putting measures on the ballot and things like that to legalize cannabis. Now, let's move on to Thomas's question. I looked at the holdings of our Money and Markets Cannabis Index, which is why I showed you the index to begin with, to see if any had positive price to earnings ratios. This is more known as the P to E ratio. The P to E ratio is basically the stock price divided by the company's earnings per share for a designated period, like 12 months. And it tells investors basically how much they pay for $1 of a company's earnings. And basically, the lower the PE ratio, the better the value is for a stock, because you're actually getting more of that dollar for the earnings with a lower ratio. So if your ratio is 5 to 1, you're paying $5 for every $1 of earnings. So if you want that lower, which you do, you want more like 2 to 1. 3 to 1, but again, not all sectors are created equal. So you can't just throw 5,000 stocks together and then have a PE ratio that creates them all equally, because it doesn't necessarily work that way, because every industry is kind of factored a little differently. So after some research, I did find a few that actually do have positive P to E ratios as of right now. Now, for reference, the average P to E ratio for cannabis production industry right now is about 10.98, about 11. So for $11 in price to every $1 of earnings. So anything lower than 10.98 is a great ratio for an individual cannabis company. Anything higher means it's tentatively kind of overvalued compared to the rest of the industry. Now, one snag here is that on the list I'm showing you is that companies like Power REIT, New Lake Capital Partners, and Innovative Industrial Properties are actually real estate investment trusts, and they're categorized as REITs, not cannabis producers. So you have to take what the average is of a REIT P to E ratio and compare it to those three rather than comparing it to cannabis, because again, not every cannabis company that's a cannabis company is actually categorized as a cannabis company. Now, the average P to E ratio for REITs is 24.1, which is both PW and IIPR have ratios below that mark, which is good. NLCP's PE ratio is 21.6, which is lower, but right on the cusp of the industry average. So it's not really bad if you're comparing it to other REITs. Now, in terms of traditional cannabis companies, JUSHF Holdings trades over the counter under JUSHF, comes in with the best PDE ratio that I could find relative to the broader cannabis industry at 6.81. Now, remember, the average is 10.98. So anything lower than that is telling us that the stock is considered undervalued or a better value than the rest of the market average. So JUSH's at 6.81. The cannabis average is 10.98. So that means JUSH is a much better value stock than the average of other cannabis stocks. TRSSF Corporation, which trades over the counter under TRSSF, it also has a good PDE ratio at 8.67. So both of them are lower than the cannabis average. Verano Holdings, VRNOF, and Green Thumb Industries, GTBIF, come in well above the cannabis industry average. So you've got Green Thumb at 31.3, and then you have Verano at 16.9. Both of those are over the average, so we would look at those and consider them overvalued. But the other thing to consider here is that these companies actually have a positive PDE ratio, and that's actually pretty good for the cannabis industry because there aren't many companies out there that have positive PDE ratios because they're basically not making any money. They're not earning any money. They don't have any profits. So if you look at a stock chart on Yahoo Finance or anything like that, and you see under price to earnings ratio it says NA, that typically means that the price to earnings ratio is negative. And that means they're not making any money. If it has a number, then you take that number and you can kind of compare it with the industry and kind of see what kind of a value you're looking at in terms of a stock. So while value doesn't necessarily correspond to a strong stock performance, we can isolate both TRSSF and JUSH and compare their stock performance. In August, TRSSF saw a couple of brief ticks upwards, but fell rapidly in the middle of the month to close with a 20.5% loss. JUSH, on the other hand, also ticked up at the beginning of the month, but fell considerably less than TRSSF in the middle. For the month, JUSH was down just 9.1%. And this tells us that valuation alone can't dictate whether a stock is a solid investment. We have to look at other things like momentum, which is what we do in our cannabis stock power and our Cannabis Power Ratings system. You have to look at the whole picture of value and momentum. So we look at value just because that is really one of the best indicators for cannabis stocks. And of course, momentum we like to look at to see kind of the trajectory of the stock price. We like to buy high and sell higher. So if we see a positive stock movement, we like to see a sustained positive stock movement. That tells us that maybe we've reached a floor in the stock price and we're going to see more upward momentum moving forward. And we can see that JUSH here is a solid value, considerably undervalued when compared to its cannabis producing peers and the average. And it does have better momentum than a company like TRSSF. It tells me that JUSH would be a better investment for the long term, as it does have great value and stronger momentum than its peers. So I hope that helps you out, Thomas. And that's all for me this week. But if you do have a question about a cannabis stock or the broader cannabis market, email me at feedback@moneyandmarkets.com. We're going to put that right down below here. You can also comment on our YouTube channel, but the email is really the best way, which is feedback@moneyandmarkets.com. If you send us a question and we use it in any of our upcoming videos, whether it's the Marijuana Market Update, my Stock Power Daily, or Ask Us Anything, then we're going to hook you up with some Money and Markets gear. We've got hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts, all sorts of cool stuff. We're going to get you hooked up with that just for being a part of the community. And don't forget about all the great content we have on our YouTube channel. It is the best investment insight, and it's all yours for free. It's for free. It's free. Trust me. Also, you can follow me on Twitter while I give you even more insights, not just in the cannabis market, but the broader market. It is sports season, more specifically soccer season. I do like college football, but soccer is my game. So I do like to tweet out about that every now and again as well. You can find me on Twitter at InvestWithMattC. That's InvestWithMattC on Twitter. If you follow me, I certainly try to follow you back. Thanks to everyone who watch our videos each and every week. We do it because we want to bring you the best insights into cannabis and investing and the economy to help you bolster your profits in your portfolio. Also, check out moneyandmarkets.com each and every day for new content that provides you that safe, sound, smart, simple, profitable, adaptable information for your portfolio. I'm Matt Clark, research analyst for Money and Markets and host of the Marijuana Market Update. Until next time, everyone, safe trading.